Merry meet, guys. Welcome back to Witches of the Moon. I am your Wednesday host, Houston, and this week, week 5, we are talking about money magic. I wanted to share with you some of my tips, tricks, and spells and formula, and different formulas of what has worked for me in money magic, and also share some of the pitfalls that I have experienced when I practice or when I do money spells. So let's start off on a low note and end on a high note. So some of the pitfalls for me with doing money spells is you think about it too much. So you do a spell for money, or let's say I do a spell for money, or this is for my experience. I do a spell for money to bring money in, and my mind can't get off of it because of my nature. I want to be stable in all aspects, which is very difficult, especially financially. And so I wanted everything in place. And so I wanted the spell to work a particular way. And putting restrictions on magic, it fizzles it out. It doesn't really work that well. So that's what always happened. I would try to do money magic to the universe for a specific amount. And only a portion or percentage of that amount would ever show up as extra or display itself or have the opportunity to make that, make only a portion of it, not really what I was asking for. For me, every time I look back on what I did, see what I did wrong, I kept thinking about the spell. I kept thinking about how it was going to play out. I kept trying to force it to go a certain way, and it went the complete opposite. It went to the path of least resistance, not how I was forcing it to, get, all the money, or all the money that I wanted at the time. So that for me was one pitfall, letting go and letting the spell do its work. I know that's one of the basics that you learn when you start spellcrafting is to do a spell and forget about it. But with money involved, it was hard for me to forget about it because that is kind of how we live. And living in a crappy situation where you probably didn't know, or I didn't really know where rent was coming from at a certain time where I didn't know where that was coming from, it was really hard to forget about it because it was always on my mind. So that was one of the pitfalls. You always hear that, if you're not specific enough in your money spell, you can inadvertently cause an accident of your loved one and you get that money as an inheritance. That's always one of the very dramatic excuses in money magic. Not excuses, wrong word. Explanations in working money magic. It's in most of the Wicca 101 books and some of the witchcraft books, some of them, that if you're not very where you want the money to come from, it could go to the path of least resistance again, which I don't see how the death of a loved one and their inheritance is least resistance, but that I never understood. I don't understand at the moment. But usually, what the money spells that have worked for me, they don't just drop the money in my lap. Like, I don't get a random check in the mail, and here's what we owe you from the IRS, or here's, you overpaid for your school, so here's a refund check, or, you get a random card from a friend or a family member that says, hey, we thought about you, I'm sending you some money to help you get by. It's never, for me, it's never happened like that. I mean, for others it could have. But for me, money magic has always opened doors for me to work to obtain the money. On the side of me working full time now, I'm also a photographer. I'm still a photographer. I do photograph portraits, family photos, events, things like that, as well as I am also a tarot reader. So if there is a psychic fair or a spiritual fair that has readers and vendors, I love to go to those and be a reader to gain more experience. But also, it's a financial You know, I go there to pay for the booth and have customers or clients that pay for the readings. So the money spells have opened up those doors to where, you know, an event will come up and they're looking for a photographer, or they're looking for another vendor or something like that, and I'll jump on the opportunity, because for me that's like the universe or the gods saying, hey, you wanted money, go out and earn it. Not just an easy giveaway. So those are my experiences with that. Don't have really any one experience that out trumps. Those are basically all my general experiences with money magic. Now, some of the spells that I like to do, I have a couple that I have one I remember when I started my practice back when I was in high school. It worked very, very well for small things, like small amounts, like if I needed, let's say, to make gas money or to get something to eat, something like extra. It was because it was, you know, what it really did need in high school. I mean, I had a job, so I mean, it wasn't anything like I didn't have a job and just, you know, mooching off my parents. I had a job, but what I would do, I don't know why I had to explain that. I'm so stupid. Sorry. So what I did was I got a green candle, and I had a pillar about that thick, about that tall. I remember I recently tossed it. No, I tossed it before I moved here. I found it and I couldn't light it. But I only used it for that, and you don't have to. You can use a regular green taper candle, or a chime candle, and you can reuse it because you're not going to let it burn down. So the idea is to hold the candle and visualize money. Visualize it coming to you in all sorts of forms, just in kind of consecrate the candle or empower the candle for money. And once you would do, after you have that going, hold it in your hand, or not hold it in your hand, put it down, somewhere fireproof, fire safe. You would light the candle, stare at and gaze at the flame. Don't stare at it. Gaze at the flame, and also continue that visualization of money coming to you, but quicker now that the flame has been lit. You can chant something along the lines of, money, money, come to me, as I will, so mote it be. I think that was the chant that went with the candle spell. You would do that for as long as you can hold the visualization, then you would blow out the candle, and I know people on here are going to give me flack, but I believe blowing out the candle adds the element of air and quickness to your spells, so go fuck yourself. With the you can only snuff out candles, fuck you. Blow out the candle, and in the smoke of the candle, rinse your hands and visualize coins and money. You're rinsing your hands in coins and money, that you're grabbing all that up. And the spell is done. Another thing that I used to do to bring in money, to bring back money that I'm spending. So when I would pay rent, and we pay rent at the moment in cash, I would take a paintbrush that I only bought for painting on powders. I would make a powder of cinnamon and ginger. Those are very good. I found it's a very good herbal formula to increase the prosperity and speedily return speedily return the income that you send out if it's dusted. So I would mix that up, dust the bills with that amount, not so much where they're flaking off the powder, but enough where you can lightly smell the cinnamon and ginger. I would dust each bill and visualize the money that I send out comes to me back to me threefold. That worked wonders with doing the rent. Another thing I have done, or another thing I've heard, I have not done this. Another thing I've heard, people make prosperity altars. So you can have an altar that is just for your household prosperity, household income. You can use statues of, you can place statues, place, not used. Statues of Ganesha, or Ganesh, the Buddha, of the, I want to say the Japanese neko, the cat, and I think the Chinese frog, the frog with the little coin in his mouth. I mean, you can also place other symbols that you correspond with money on your altar. Those are just some statues or figures that associate with prosperity for me. You could also light incense. You can do a magical change jar where all the change you add in, you get in from your pocket, you add it up, and it goes in your prosperity. It builds up the prosperity of the household. I think that made sense. So the change jar, you could enchant to, as when you add change to it, your prosperity of the household increases. So every time you add your pocket change to it, money's coming in, money's flowing, that energy is flowing, you're feeding into the spell. And so then when you cash it out, that magical money's dispersed, and you get a greater amount coming back. It's the theory. Also, if you are big into, damn it, I can't think of anything now. You could, no, that'd be bad. I was gonna say line your wallet with like dill or cinnamon or ginger or something like that. But I mean, you can make a sachet bag with those in it and put it in your wallet or your purse or your pocket or your car, things like that, to enhance money flow. There are many things you can do. You can enchant necklaces to bring in prosperity. But yeah, so I don't continue to ramble. I'm going to end this now. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them down below for me in the comment section. And until next week, many blessings, guys.